It was an ordinary Tuesday when Evelyn Mercer received the receipt. Tucked between her husband Daniel's dry cleaning tickets and a receipt for gas was a slip from the Hotel Granville, a boutique hotel downtown they'd never visited together. The charge was for a suite. One night, one person, one lie. Evelyn didn't react, not outwardly. She smiled at Daniel when he walked through the door that evening. But something had shifted. To everyone, the Mercers were the golden couple. Two successful professionals with a sleek suburban home and dinner parties straight out of a lifestyle magazine. But Evelyn knew perfection was paper-thin. For weeks, she'd noticed the late meetings, the new cologne, the sudden interest in fitness. Daniel was hiding something, and Evelyn had just found her first clue. Evelyn was no ordinary housewife. As a forensic accountant, she knew how to follow money, trace patterns, and uncover what was meant to stay buried. That night, while Daniel slept, she accessed their joint cloud storage, specifically his smartwatch backups. What she found made her stomach twist. GPS data showing repeat visits to the Granville, voice memos, and one photo that sealed it. Her best friend Lena, half-dressed, in their bed, smiling at the camera. A normal person might have confronted their cheating spouse. Evelyn wasn't normal. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She planned. She studied Lena's schedule, tracked Daniel's every move, and started writing in a leather-bound journal titled, "If I Were a Criminal." Evelyn visited an old college acquaintance known online as Cypher, a black hat hacker who owed her a favor. She didn't tell him why. She just needed mirrored access to Daniel's phone and Lena's social feeds. "You'll owe me twice after this," Cypher said. Evelyn only nodded. Within days, Evelyn was reading Lena's DMs, watching live as Daniel sent his wife photos of board meetings while texting Lena. "You looked incredible this morning." Evelyn never interrupted. Every message was time-stamped, cataloged, stored. Evelyn began planting false clues, subtle ones. She left a red scarf in Daniel's glove box, the same shade Lena wore in a viral video. She switched Daniel's cologne back to his old scent. She left a fingerprint-laced wine glass on Lena's balcony. Slowly, she turned them against each other. Enter Detective Julian Cross, investigating a seemingly unrelated break-in at the Mercer's neighbor's home. Evelyn offered tea and casual conversation. But Cross, sharp-eyed and intuitive, sensed something deeper. A woman too calm, too measured. He made a mental note. Lena's influencer brand began crumbling. Anonymous accounts sent her fans edited photos of her with Daniel. A fake pregnancy rumor went viral. Panic set in. She confronted Daniel, who dismissed it. But now, cracks formed in the affair's once carefree facade. Daniel's company flagged irregular activity. Funds missing. Evelyn had inserted a script into his business accounts, rerouting money through foreign shells. Not enough to notice all at once, but enough to raise eyebrows. Daniel was now under internal audit, unaware who the real puppeteer was. Evelyn invited Daniel and Lena to a remote lake house under the guise of a couple's getaway to mend wounds. She even staged a fake reconciliation. "We need this," she whispered, kissing his cheek. The storm outside that night wasn't the only one coming. Before the trip, Evelyn wired the lake house with hidden cameras. She wanted everything, recorded. Confessions, betrayals, fears. But what she didn't expect was Mrs. Whitaker, their elderly neighbor, capturing Daniel sneaking out the night before they left. His duffel bag heavy and face pale. Lightning cracked as Lena arrived. Her nerves were frayed. Evelyn greeted her with wine. They talked about old times. Evelyn casually mentioned, "I know about you and Daniel." The glass slipped from Lena's hand. Outside, rain poured. Inside, truths poured faster. Daniel arrived to find Evelyn and Lena together. No smiles, no pretense. Evelyn played the recordings aloud. Daniel reached for Lena, who slapped him. Evelyn calmly dialed Detective Cross. As Evelyn waited for Cross, Lena tried to flee. Daniel blocked her. A struggle, a fall. Lena hit her head on the fireplace. Silence. Evelyn didn't scream. She walked to the window and whispered, "You always needed an exit." Detective Cross arrived minutes later. Evelyn pointed to Lena's body and then to the camera footage. Daniel was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming for the affair, for embezzlement, for obstruction. Mrs. Whitaker provided her CCTV footage. "He left with a shovel," she whispered. "That sealed Daniel's fate." The press had a field day, the tech mogul, the influencer, the accountant wife who knew too much. At the police station, Evelyn gave her statement with poise. "I only wanted the truth. I didn't want her dead. But I suppose justice has a way of arriving when you least expect it." Months later, Evelyn sat in her study. The journal titled, "If I Were a Criminal Now" had an epilogue. Inside, bank statements revealed she'd rerouted the embezzled funds into an offshore trust. No one ever traced it, and Evelyn never touched a dime. She moved to the coast, changed her name, started over. The world remembered her as the wife who brought down a corporate criminal. But Evelyn? She remembered herself as something else entirely. The woman who turned betrayal into a blueprint. Months after Daniel's arrest, whispers of Evelyn's involvement circulated in dark corners of the internet. Conspiracy forums called her the Widowmaker. Some said she engineered it all, beginning to end. Sabrina, Lena's estranged sister, appeared at the inquest. She didn't believe Lena's death was accidental. She contacted Detective Cross with screenshots, messages Lena had sent days before her death. "She knows. She's watching me." Haunted by a nagging doubt, Detective Cross reopened his private notes. Something didn't sit right, the precision, the timing, Evelyn's calm. He rewatched the lake house footage, frame by frame. While cleaning her new coastal home, Evelyn accidentally dropped a locked red box. Inside were photos, burner phones, and receipts from months before she found out about the affair. Planning had begun long before the betrayal. Cypher reached out. "They're on to you," he typed. Evelyn replied with a single emoji, Joker. She had cards left to play. Daniel's trial became a media circus. Evelyn testified flawlessly. The jury didn't flinch. Guilty. But one juror, an off-duty cop, had questions. He started his own digging. Sabrina leaked private emails between Evelyn and Lena that hinted at a staged confrontation. In one, Evelyn wrote, "Let's meet, just us. I want no more secrets." It was sent the day Lena died. Evelyn sued Sabrina for defamation. The courtroom drama echoed the original scandal. But Sabrina wasn't alone. She had a forensic tech of her own. A hair found at the lake house, previously dismissed, was reanalyzed. It didn't belong to Daniel or Lena. It matched Evelyn's ex-boyfriend. Had she invited a ghost to finish her work? Julian Cross tracked the man. Marcus Drenner, a survivalist and ex-soldier. He disappeared 2 years ago, just as Evelyn re-entered society. Rumor was they'd made a pact. Confronted with evidence of Marcus's presence, Evelyn stayed silent. Her lawyer answered for her, but her eyes, cold and unreadable, hinted that the story was far from over. A voice memo from Evelyn's red box surfaced. It sounded like a confession, until analysts found it was AI-generated. A decoy. She had planned even the leaks. Cypher anonymously leaked Evelyn's real journal to a true crime blogger. It revealed calculations, rehearsals, simulations. It was less a diary and more a war manual. The world now saw Evelyn not as a scorned wife, but a meticulous strategist. The media changed their tone. They began using a new term, domestic tactician. A survivalist YouTube channel accidentally revealed Marcus alive, living off-grid. The comments exploded. One asked, "Is that Evelyn's ghost?" With authorities closing in, Evelyn disappeared. Her home was empty, her assets frozen. Only a note remained, "You underestimated me again." Supporters rallied. Feminist forums debated whether Evelyn was a monster or martyr. Documentaries were made. Netflix called it The Wife Who Waited. Detective Cross couldn't sleep. He began to write his own memoir. Chapter 1. The One Who Got Away. In a dark corner of the web, a file appeared. Evelyn's voice, distorted. "Truth isn't what happened. It's what you believe happened. Goodbye." To this day, no one knows where Evelyn Mercer went. But one thing remains. She didn't just plot revenge. She perfected it. A mysterious auction appeared on the dark web. Among the items was a flash drive titled Mercer Blueprint. Analysts believed it contained Evelyn's entire strategy. The bid exceeded 6 figures in 24 hours. Unable to move on, Sabrina rented a room in Evelyn's coastal town. She followed rumors, interviewed locals, and pieced together Evelyn's new identity, one clue at a time. Authorities discovered a string of online aliases tied to Evelyn. She wasn't alone. The widow's network spanned continents, women who vanished after public betrayals. Evelyn had become their ghostly figurehead. A cybersecurity firm found a hidden code buried in the Mercer Blueprint. It wasn't malware, it was a manifesto, a step-by-step system for emotional warfare, masked in elegant prose. Marcus uploaded a single video. She was never evil. She was precise. It was deleted minutes later, but not before going viral. Interpol flagged a woman in Prague who looked exactly like Evelyn. But facial recognition confirmed something shocking. Evelyn had altered her identity with AI-generated deepfakes. Her true appearance was now unknown. In a forgotten storage unit, Sabrina found Evelyn's first journal. Handwritten, emotional, raw. This wasn't a tactician. This was a wife torn apart. The early pages revealed doubt, fear, even love. Julian Cross returned to active duty to lead a new task force, Project Echo, aimed at uncovering Evelyn's network. But each time they closed in, a member vanished. A vault in Zurich was robbed, no alarms, no evidence. Only one item was taken, a safety deposit box tied to Daniel Mercer. The thief left a card behind. It read, "Blueprints never die." Sabrina was abducted outside her motel. Her captor left a note, "You got too close." She was found unharmed a week later, but remembered nothing. Universities began teaching a new case study in psychology and strategy courses. The Evelyn Effect, How Trauma Can Fuel Transformation, and How Revenge Can Become a Movement. A podcast surfaced titled Ghost Signal. It featured interviews with people claiming to have met Evelyn. Each voice told a different story, each ending the same, "She changed my life." Authorities arrested a woman claiming to be Evelyn. She wasn't. She was a volunteer, part of the network. "She saved me," the woman said in court. "I'd do it again." The trial captivated the world. The defendant refused to give up Evelyn's location. "You can't catch a shadow," she said in her closing statement. The jury acquitted her. A teenage girl hacked into Interpol's database, leaving behind a note signed, "E.M. Jr." Investigators wondered, had Evelyn started a family in exile? Julian Cross received a package, a chessboard, one pawn missing. Attached was a note, "You were never the player." He retired that week. Cypher published a digital book, The Widow's Manual. It wasn't Evelyn's words, but it followed her style, her tactics, her rules. It sold 1 million copies before being banned. Sabrina published her own memoir, In Her Wake. It wasn't just about Evelyn. It was about healing, vengeance, and the thin line between justice and obsession. Cypher vanished. His servers wiped clean. The last message he posted was an image, a woman walking into the ocean. The caption read, "She's free now." Whether myth, martyr, or mastermind, Evelyn Mercer became legend. Her story was no longer just about revenge. It was about power, about fear, about control, and about a woman who rewrote the rules. A series of cassette tapes were mailed to 3 major newspapers. Each featured Evelyn recounting her earliest plans, doubts, and near disasters. One revealed a failed poisoning attempt that had gone unnoticed. A woman came forward, claiming to be Sabrina's estranged sister. She had received letters from Evelyn, suggesting Sabrina's obsession had roots far deeper than the affair. A truck driver recalled picking up a drenched woman in the Mojave Desert years ago. She called herself Eva. When he saw her photo in the news, he swore it was Evelyn. An underground training facility in South America taught women psychological warfare. Its founder, an anonymous woman known only as Mother E. Daniel Mercer, long out of the spotlight, was found living under a new name. But when a journalist confronted him, he whispered, "I deserve worse than what she gave me." Plagued by paranoia, Sabrina was found wandering the streets barefoot, claiming Evelyn had entered her dreams. She was committed to a psychiatric clinic. A nonprofit quietly funded by anonymous donors began assisting betrayed women in starting over. Its founder refused to be named, but called herself a student of Evelyn. A rogue journalist arranged a polygraph with one of Evelyn's supposed allies. The questions led nowhere until the machine flatlined. "You're asking the wrong truth," she said. In a remote Bulgarian town, nearly every woman was undocumented and lived under assumed identities. Locals called them the Wives of Smoke. A cloaked woman appeared at the funeral of Julian Cross. She placed a white rose on his grave and whispered, "Pawn to Queen 4. Security footage was erased moments later. A final journal entry from Sabrina surfaced after her death. It read, "She didn't destroy me. She gave me the tools. I just used them wrong." A best-selling novel titled The Glass Wife mirrored Evelyn's exact story. When asked, the author said, "It came to me in a dream." A private collector released a scanned letter signed M. It read, "Revenge isn't justice, but sometimes it's the only thing that teaches it." A global conference in Iceland, originally billed as a tech summit, was revealed to be a secret meeting of Evelyn's network. Speakers wore veils. Attendees swore oaths. A pawn shop in Lisbon sold a ring identical to Evelyn's wedding band. Hidden inside, a microchip with coordinates leading to a remote island. Drones captured images of a hidden compound on the island, solar-powered, surrounded by guards, and marked with a symbol, a single crimson rose. A final message hit encrypted forums worldwide. "No revenge is final. No woman is alone. We bloom in shadow." The phrase Rose Protocol began appearing in divorce court documents and therapy circles. No one could define it, but everyone knew what it meant. A statue was erected in a quiet Paris alley. A faceless woman with outstretched arms. No plaque, no name, but roses were left at its feet daily. Rumors continue. Sightings are whispered, but Evelyn Mercer, whether dead, alive, or legend, lives on in silence, in code, and in the stories of those who refuse to be victims. A handwritten will surfaced in Morocco, encrypted with a cipher only Evelyn's original manifesto could decode. Within it, instructions to pass the torch. A posthumous interview was released. Sabrina on video, calm, measured. "I wasn't hunting her. I was becoming her," she said, eyes unreadable. Therapists in Paris reported women speaking in cryptic phrases, coded references to Evelyn's teachings. They called it session language. A district attorney reopened Evelyn's case. Weeks later, he resigned. His farewell letter simply read, "Justice is not blind. It's afraid." An abandoned library in Lithuania contained an entire floor of Evelyn-inspired materials. Photos, tapes, floor plans. No one knows who built it. A journalist caught Daniel Mercer at a cafe in Berlin. He said only 5 words. "She left me better broken." A young woman on trial for corporate espionage quoted Evelyn word for word in court. Her code name, Dahlia. A covert experiment by journalists tested loyalty in women's support groups. Those trained under Evelyn's system passed with eerie precision. Victims of high-profile betrayals began receiving anonymous envelopes. Inside, legal loopholes, bank account hacks, emotional warfare strategies. Each signed, "For her." A locked trunk in Sabrina's storage revealed her own plan for Daniel. She never used it, but she had learned from Evelyn well. The woman once jailed as Evelyn's double escaped prison. Security footage showed her walking out unnoticed, wearing a red scarf. A luxury auction house sold a rare watch with a concealed blade. Provenance: unknown woman, left behind in Venice. Bidder ID: Widow 001. A digital manifesto titled Charter of the Shadow Rose emerged on the dark web. It outlined a vision, not revenge, but reclamation. A data leak exposed the private sins of dozens of powerful men. Affairs, fraud, abuse, published across an anonymous network. They called it the husband files. An aged psychologist broke her silence. She wasn't a sociopath. She was clarity in a world built on denial. A senator received a crimson envelope. Inside, only a name and a date. He resigned within 48 hours. No reason given. A girl entered a private prep school using a forged identity. Her essays referenced a woman who taught shadows how to shine. DNA later linked her to Sabrina. In Buenos Aires, a woman walked into a police station and confessed, "I am the last widow." She then vanished from holding within hours. A final set of instructions appeared across encrypted forums. Silent gestures, symbolic actions, coded emails. They called it the Bloom Directive. She may be gone, but Evelyn's name is now whispered between women in therapy sessions, in courtrooms, and in boardrooms, not as a criminal, but as a code. A high-ranking official was caught in a sting operation involving forged paternity records. The tip? An anonymous envelope marked with a rose stamp. A ledger encoded with women's names and dates surfaced in Prague. At first glance, it seemed random, until someone realized the dates matched major financial collapses linked to corrupt male CEOs. An abandoned vineyard in Portugal was discovered with underground rooms full of documents, training manuals, and disguises. A painted wall read, "Revenge, ripe as wine." Daniel Mercer was arrested in connection to laundering money through shell charities. During trial, a mysterious woman watched from the gallery each day, always in red gloves. Authorities discovered Evelyn's DNA on a pair of gloves found at an international bank heist. But there was a twist. The heist occurred a year after her reported death. Investigators unearthed Evelyn's second passport under the name Elise Monroe. With it, photos of her with global leaders, arms dealers, and activists. Who was she really? A sealed confession video was aired in a whistleblower documentary. Sabrina described Evelyn's network as not a cult, not a sisterhood, an awakening. A secret rooftop in New York bloomed with black roses. Surveillance footage showed women arriving silently at midnight. No words spoken, only silent nods exchanged. On the final day of trial, Daniel Mercer broke down. "She made me," he whispered. "Everything I am, she orchestrated." The jury found him guilty on all counts. A rare bookstore in Amsterdam received a donation. A single book with no title. Inside were stories told in code. Each tale ended with justice quietly served. A group of women in Dubai held a press conference, revealing they had been feeding Evelyn's network information for years. "They called us victims," one said. "We were architects." A series of luxury hotel reservations under different names all shared one detail: swans on the stationery. Evelyn's signature symbol for an imminent takedown. At 16, Sabrina's daughter hacked the national database of a corrupt defense contractor. She left a single calling card, a drawing of 2 roses crossed at the stem. An airplane's black box, recovered from a crash years ago, was decrypted. Evelyn's voice was the last on record. "If you're hearing this, justice has begun." A leak titled "The Widowmaker Files" crashed financial servers worldwide. Dozens of abusers and their enablers were exposed, carefully timed with court proceedings in 5 countries. A painting auctioned for $2 million held a microfilm hidden in the frame. Inside, Evelyn's final list. The last 12 names were crossed out. The last word written, "Done." Daniel Mercer was sentenced to 42 years without parole. On the courthouse steps, women held candles, not in celebration, but in solemn recognition. Justice had spoken. Sabrina's body was finally laid to rest. No gravestone, just a plaque that read, "She woke the lioness." Women around the world lit candles that night. Podcast released a deepfake voice assumed to be Evelyn's, but audio experts confirmed it was real. Her final words? "You thought revenge was noise. I taught you it was silence." In courtrooms, boardrooms, and classrooms, the legacy of Evelyn Mercer lives on. Not as a villain, not even a martyr, but as a spark, a reckoning, a whisper in every woman who says, "No more." Stay tuned for more chilling cases on Cold Case Chronicles, where the truth is always darker than fiction. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to Cold Case Chronicles. We dive deeper into the most chilling, unsolved mysteries, and together, we uncover what was left behind. Like, share, and leave a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts. Stay vigilant. Stay curious. The truth never rests.